All right, 18 minutes after 9 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. In the studio with me is the aunt of one of our next guest's biggest fans.
Yeah.
David Weber is on the phone right now. He's a New York Times best-selling science fiction and fantasy author. He's got a new book called The Sword of the South, and he has no idea that I'm about to tell him this. But Robin, you are the aunt of Aaron. Aaron is your nephew?
Yep.
And Aaron is a big fan of David's.
Yeah. He's
And
been for a long time.
so what was it, a Christmas gift?
Yes.
You got him the entire Star Kingdom.
Yep.
Is that what it was called? Star Kingdom series?
It came in a box, and such a nice box.
Got a
set.
box.
And Aaron will be 17 in September, and he's been following you for a while.
There you go. The Sword of the South. David Weber. Good morning, David.
Good morning. That's something an author likes to hear.
My goodness, yes. You have a fan in Robin's nephew. This is a smart young man, by the way. How old is he?
He'll be 17 in September.
Yeah.
He's been reading you for a long time.
He's a very smart guy. Plays the trumpet really well, too, by the way.
He does. He wins superiors in state competition. He's great.
All right. That's great. Send me an address, and I will send him an autographed book.
Ooh. I wasn't fishing for that, but we'll take it. Yeah.
No,
that is sweet. Well, good morning, David. How are you?
Oh, good morning. I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Good. And where are you calling from?
I'm calling from South Carolina.
Are you a fan of your work as much? I mean, that's a weird question. I mean, when you're writing the work, aren't you in those worlds just like we are when we read your work?
Yeah, it's a funny thing. If you build the characters right, okay, then you don't really have to stop to think about what they're going to say and do in a given set of circumstances. It's kind of like somebody that you know really well, that you hang out with all the time. And so it can be, you find yourself, especially when I'm editing, when I'm going through and working on, tightening and tweaking here and there, I will sometimes find myself wandering into that world. My wife and my 3 children would tell you that I spend more time there than I do in reality.
But when you have several different series, I mean, aren't they like different universes for you? Like the series Robin bought for her nephew was one whole series. Is that concluded, or will there ever be new books in that series?
Well, I'm actually planning on ending a series sometime in the next couple of years, which will be a first for me. I tend to write open-ended series. My Honor Harrington series, which is the one people know me for, I guess, the most, I originally projected at 6 books, and I think there are 17 novels and 5 anthologies in it now. So things have a tendency to get a little out of hand when but the problem is that every story I finish leaves me thinking about, okay, what happens next?
My goodness. Wow. So you really do live in these worlds. So Sword of the South, the new book, is also the first book of a new series?
It is. In a sense, it's the 5th book in an existing series. But it introduces a new cast of characters. The old cast is still with us, but we're like 70 years later, so not all of them are still with us.
So this is the south of what? The south part of what?
Well, it's referring to the southern continent on the world where this novel is set.
This isn't even on Earth.
It has nothing to do with the Mason-Dixon line.
Well, obviously, Aaron is going to be really happy that you have spoken to us today. So,
oh yeah.
But aside from that, I mean, do you have fans of all ages? I'm guessing you do, because we're 60. So.
Yeah. Well, okay. A few years ago, I was the writer guest at DragonCon, and this college junior came up to me to get his book signed, and I signed it. He said, "Oh, Mr. Webb, you're my favorite writer in all the world." And I said, "No, that's good." He said, "You're my mother's favorite writer in all the world." I said, "That's good." Then he said the fatal words, "She used to read me to sleep with your stories."
Oh, that is cool. You didn't like that, but I think that's cool.
It was kind of like dagger sliding. But
so I have a question.
Yes.
Well, about that, I mean, if I listen to old music and then new music from the same artist, there clearly is a difference. And I often wonder if they think that they've progressed and they like cringe when they hear themselves back then. Do you look at your old writing and say, oh my gosh, I changed so much since those days?
Not really. I supported myself as a writer from the time I was 17, and I didn't sell the first book until I was 37. So I spent a lot of time pushing words around for other purposes, for advertising and public relations bureau. I even did political campaigns when I couldn't get honest work. But so my writing style, my technique, was more firmly established, I think, than is true for many writers when they publish their first novel. Now, I can definitely see changes, but I don't cringe when I read the earlier books. But what I do is I look and I see how I have, for want of a better term, polished the edges of what I do. The thing is that I think nobody can teach you to be a storyteller. Okay, they can help you learn to write better, and it's almost like a physical skill. The more you do it, the better you get at it. There's also the danger, of course, that you not only get better at it, but you sort of settle into a groove that may not be your best work because you've just done it so often that it's kind of you flow in that direction. I find that's one place where having multiple series in different literary universes helps, because you can shift from one to the other, and it kind of causes you to sort of have to stop and think, okay, now what am I doing in this universe is different from what I'm doing in that one, if you see what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I think that, I'll say this, when you discover a writer who you really, 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 really like, the first book that you meet that writer in is the gold standard for everything else that writer ever writes, as far as you're concerned, because you never experienced that ooh wow moment twice, if you see what I'm saying.
Right,
it's kind of like
right.
If we're all probably old enough that we saw Star Wars for first run in the theater.
Right.
Yes.
I did.
Yes.
Okay. Remember the ship coming overhead, and you went, "Oh wow," and that's kind of the iconic moment, I think, for most of us who saw the movies in their original release. It's not the same on the small screen. It's also not the same when you've seen it for the 15th time in the 15th movie.
Right, exactly.
And so discovering a writer is sort of like that. That first book, that moment when you say, wow, this is a writer I really like, stays with you. And even if you read something by that same author at a later date, which technically is better written and maybe is even a better story, you don't get that wow moment as much, because now this is your friend rather than this wonderful new person you just met.
Wow, that's a really good point. So how do you make that wow moment happen all the time? And I guess, to be fair to this particular book, if you could give us oh gosh, it's such a large book, but give us a thumbnail sketch or a movie trailer version of The Sword of the South, so that Aaron will know whether he wants to buy this one, or Robin will get it from her as a gift or whatever.
His birthday's coming up.
And don't forget that grandma who loves you too.
Okay, thumbnail sketch. Kind of difficult. Basically, this is the coming back into the open of a war that's been going on for 1,300 years, but it's been kind of on pause while one continent recovers from the equivalent of a tactical nuclear strike that was carried out by the losing side to cover its retreat. The book itself is really what it's concerned with more than anything else, is the importance of making choices. I've discovered that that's kind of a recurrent theme in my writing, and in this particular instance, the deities involved can see the future, but the problem is they can see all possible futures, because this is basically using the many universes theory, that there's, you know, any number of universes. So in any given universe, they don't know which outcome is going to happen for that particular universe until it actually happens. And so the decisions that the mortals make in that universe determine the ultimate outcome of that universe, for good or ill. And I think that it gets to something that I think a lot of us feel somehow adrift from today, which is the habit of making decisions and then standing by the consequences of them.
Wow.
I think we miss that in public life today. We don't feel that that's what happens. There's always a golden parachute somewhere, and people seem to somehow evade their responsibilities and their moral choices. And I think no matter which side of the political debate you're on, that's not what you want to see out of your leadership. And I think that one of the attractions of fantasy is that we can, in real life.
Are you there, David? Uh-oh, he disappeared.
I don't know. David, are you there?
I'm back.
Oh, there you are. Good.
Oh, there was a glitch in the phone signal.
I accidentally hit the mute button.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that'll do it. David, we've got about a half minute left. I loved what you just said, and it sounded very insightful. I usually give the book away to a listener instead. Robin, that's for Aaron.
Oh, he's gonna love that.
And then the rest of us have to go buy it. Do you have a website we can go to, David?
I do. You can go to David Weber at davidweber.net. It's really hard to remember. And seriously, if you will drop me a message through the forum with Aaron's address and when his birthday is, I will give him it won't be a surprise, because he's probably listening. But if you'll get me that information, I will get him a birthday present.
That is so sweet.
Thank you so much. I will do that, sir.
Thank you,
David. Thank you for being on the air with us today, and definitely come back and hear the stories from Rob. Maybe we can get him in the studio next time.
Yeah, I hope so.
That would be great.
Then we'll just let him do the talking. David, thank you.
All right.
We will take a little break. We'll be right back.
In a Facebook video, opponents say they'll sue. Memphis police are looking for Tremaine Wilborn.
You gunned down, you murdered a police officer. You've literally destroyed a family.
Tony Armstrong says Officer Sean Bolton was killed after interrupting a drug deal raging in Northern California. A wildfire in the Lake area north of San Francisco. It's already consumed 24 homes and threatens thousands more. 21 major fires are burning across the state. Fox News, we report.